You know that moment when everything in life seems normal, until someone crosses the line so far that something inside you just snaps? Stay with me, because this story will take you from quiet embarrassment to explosive courage, and by the end, you'll know exactly why she refused to let anyone walk over her ever again. It all started on an unusually warm afternoon at Westbrook High. Lunch break. The school courtyard buzzed with the usual chatter, friends swapping snacks, guys tossing a football, and the sound of sneakers scraping the concrete. Among the crowd sat Maya, a soft-spoken 17-year-old who had always tried to keep to herself. She wasn't shy because she lacked confidence, she was shy because she hated drama. But drama has a funny way of finding the people who least want it. Maya's closest friends, Jasmine and Leah, were sitting with her on the low brick wall, laughing about an inside joke from math class. Just a few feet away, a group of boys loitered, loud, restless, and looking for entertainment. Among them was Ethan. Tall. Smirking. The kind of guy who thrived on making others the butt of his jokes. Ethan had made little digs at Maya before, mocking her quiet nature, making fake swooning gestures when she walked by, but she'd ignored him. Her father always told her, don't give bullies the attention they crave. And so she didn't, until that day. It happened in seconds. Ethan sauntered over with his usual cocky swagger, holding a football under one arm. He said something she didn't even catch, but his friends laughed, egging him on. Then, without warning, he reached out and grabbed the neckline of her shirt. With a loud, deliberate RIP, the thin cotton tore right down the side. The courtyard went silent for a fraction of a second, then erupted in gasps and laughter. Maya's arms shot up to cover herself, her face flushing hot. She could hear someone whisper, "Oh my God," and the sting of humiliation burned deeper than the summer sun overhead. Ethan was still laughing when it happened. In that moment, Maya's mind didn't think. Her body moved. She dropped her backpack, stepped forward, and with the force of every insult, every snicker, every shove in the hallway she had endured, she drove her fist upward, connecting squarely with his nose. There was a sickening crack. Ethan stumbled back, clutching his face as blood streamed down between his fingers. His friends froze, their expressions flipping from smug to stunned. The silence was deafening. And then, cheers. Not from everyone, but enough to let her know she wasn't alone. Leah jumped to her side, draping a hoodie over her shoulders. Jasmine glared at Ethan's crew, daring them to say a word. The principal arrived within minutes, summoned by a frantic hall monitor. Ethan was escorted to the nurse's office, still cursing under his breath. Maya was taken to the office too, but she walked with her head high now, not hunched in shame. What followed wasn't easy. Ethan's parents were furious, demanding she be suspended for attacking their son. But when the security camera footage was reviewed, clear as day showing Ethan tearing her shirt, everything changed. The school didn't suspend her. In fact, the vice principal told her quietly, "You stood up for yourself. That matters." Still, the days after were tense. Some students whispered about the fight. Others called her a legend. Ethan avoided her completely, his broken nose wrapped in white tape. Maya didn't feel like a hero, just a girl who'd had enough. But the real turning point came a week later. A freshman she didn't even know approached her at her locker. She was small, with nervous eyes, and she said, "Thanks, for what?" "You did. People like him, they scare people like me. But now I know I don't have to just take it." That's when Maya realized, her punch had done more than break a nose. It had shattered something bigger, the unspoken rule that bullies could humiliate anyone without consequences. From that day forward, she carried herself differently. Not arrogant, not aggressive, just steady. She joined the self-defense club at school and even started helping train younger students in confidence and basic moves. And if you're wondering whether she regretted it, the answer is no. Not for a second. Because sometimes, when someone pushes you past the edge, the most powerful thing you can do is push back, hard enough that they never forget. And Ethan? Let's just say, no one ever saw him try that stunt again. You know those moments in life when you don't just decide to fight back, you become the fight back? Stay with me, because this story isn't just about a girl and a bully. It's about the moment humiliation turned into power, and how one punch changed everything in a high school where fear had been the norm. It was a Tuesday, ordinary in every way except for the fact that the sun felt hotter than usual, baking the courtyard of Westbrook High. Students milled around, some eating lunch on the grass, others hanging out by the vending machines. Maya Turner sat on the low brick wall with her two best friends, Jasmine, fiery and sharp-tongued, and Leah, gentle and soft-spoken. They were mid-laughter, replaying a teacher's clumsy fall in math class earlier, when the shadow of Trouble slid across their table. Trouble's name was Ethan Brooks. Ethan wasn't the kind of bully who shoved kids into lockers every day. No, he was worse. The kind who made humiliation into an art form. His weapon was embarrassment. He'd make a loud joke, humiliate you in front of a crowd, and walk away with his smug little smirk while everyone laughed along just to stay on his good side. For months, Maya had been on his radar. She wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, just quiet. Which, to guys like Ethan, meant easy target. She'd ignored his comments, his fake flirting, the way he'd mock her clothes. She'd learned to let it slide because her dad always said, the bully's win is in your reaction. Don't give them that win. But that day, Ethan wasn't looking for a reaction. He was looking for an audience. He strolled over with his football tucked under one arm, his friends trailing behind like a pack of hyenas. Hey, Turner, he said, too loud for it to be casual. Nice shirt. Vintage? Maya glanced up briefly, already deciding not to engage. Jasmine rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath, ignore him. But Ethan thrived on not being ignored. In one swift motion, too fast for Maya to even register what was happening, he reached out, grabbed her shirt at the collar, and with a sharp yank, tore it straight down the side. The sound of ripping fabric was like a gunshot in the courtyard. Gasps. Laughter. Phones raised. Maya's hands shot to her side, clutching the torn fabric against her skin. Her face burned, not just with embarrassment, but with a sudden, roaring heat that started deep in her chest. She could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Ethan was laughing, actually laughing, like this was the funniest thing he'd done all week. His friends were howling. Even a few kids across the courtyard, kids Maya barely knew, were grinning at the spectacle. That's when something in Maya's mind switched. It wasn't a thought, it was instinct. The fight or flight button had been pressed, and flight wasn't even an option anymore. She dropped her backpack. Her feet shifted forward. Her fist tightened. The punch came faster than even she expected. A clean, upward shot that connected squarely with Ethan's nose. The crack was so sharp it cut through the noise of the courtyard like a whip. Ethan staggered back, dropping his football. Blood immediately poured down between his fingers as he clutched his face, eyes wide in shock. The laughter stopped cold. For a moment, it was so silent that Maya could hear the rustling of the trees at the edge of the courtyard. Then, somewhere in the back, a single voice shouted, "Yes!" The cheers that followed weren't massive, but they were loud enough to matter. Jasmine was at her side instantly, pulling her hoodie off and wrapping it around Maya's shoulders. Leah stood in front of her, glaring daggers at anyone who dared to laugh again. Minutes later, a hall monitor arrived, followed by the principal. Ethan was sent to the nurse's office. Maya was told to come to the main office. She walked there in silence, her hands still trembling, not from fear, but from adrenaline. She half expected to be suspended on the spot. Ethan's parents were the kind who complained about every little thing, and she knew they'd go nuclear over this. And they did. Within an hour, they were in the principal's office, furious, demanding she be punished. But then came the moment that changed the whole situation. The vice principal pulled up the security camera footage. On the screen, clear as day, was Ethan walking up, grabbing her shirt, and tearing it. No sound, just undeniable proof. Maya braced for a lecture. But instead, the vice principal looked at her and said quietly, "You defended yourself. You don't have to apologize for that."